So we're going to talk about GeoJSON dashboard. Uh, but before we do that, should probably have we formally define what a dashboard is. Although we saw the eco one in that. So it's user interface. So we're going to have some controls on there. It's not like a backend script that runs in the middle of the night with no one around. Provides at a glance key performance indicators, KPIs. This is a term to keep in your inventory. It's used a lot in Tableau. KPIs, so key performance indicators. So the idea is to have different gauges, indicators, charts, or something that can, at a glance tell you what's going on. The thing is, one would be, is it static or dynamic, right? So data seems to be fixed, not related to other controls on parts of the page. We saw that with the map. The map is very static in the earlier one. And so, or is it dynamic? You change your control causes a change in the other. Now we saw a little bit of this in the eco one, but it's really just filtering. What I'm thinking about is if I zoom the map, change the extent of the map, that changes the data, right? Not just a filter, but actually changes the data, the available rows that would be used to make a particular control. So is it related to filtering? Yes, because I'm using a spatial filter on the map to make that. The one thing to realize, right, so in a new data, in dynamic would also be new data coming from the back end. The earlier one is kind of fixed to a point in time in the data sets. I mean, they're kind of frozen would be a term, I guess. So either new data is coming in from the back end or we're making a change on the front end that causes us to request new data from the back end, and then all the charts get updated, or gauges, indicators, whatever the control might be. The one thing to realize is that it can be a spectrum, and that you might have parts that are static, right, and parts that are highly dynamic. So the GeoJSON dashboard, what is it? A configurable dashboard framework for GeoJSON data. So there's going to be a mapping component to it. But the idea, I guess, that GeoJSON feature collection features would be the operating unit that is used to feed all the other controls. Yeah. One big thing is 100% client side. And so a lot of the work, once the geodata stuff arrives, is the browser gets busy updating all the controls. Not a crazy workflow, more stuff trends this way, right? But what's the operating unit? Is it GeoJSON or just JSON, right? It's made up of Bootstrap and Leaflet. Hey, we know some of those. jQuery query builder. And this ala SQL is very interesting. It gives you sort of an SQL style way of to do queries on the front side, and that it's C3 based, which is also based on D3. So C3 is like the charting component part out of D3. So you got some of the usual suspects up there: Bootstrap, Leaflet, jQuery, D3 again. And that Allah's, like I said, that SQL thing, it looked really good. And that activity does stop around 2016, however, right? For this particular concept, right? And the however is this: all these other libraries that it uses, C3, D3, SQL, still highly active as of days ago. I went and checked on some of them. They're still cooking. The gem in this particular dashboard is the ability to write SQL-like statements. So if you're a database person and you're used to like select star from table and that kind of concept, and you're used to writing SQL statements to manipulate data, then it can give you a way to, flip data, filter data, restrict data, shape data to feed into a particular control, and that, which can be quite nice. We found on some Android projects, one SQL statement was worth 16 lines of code. That's what we were able to chop out of a project by building up SQL statements to hit an SQLite database on Android. So the savings can be real when you know how to query a database in a relational way. You could do that against the features. I mean, the features is the table. Each feature is a row, and then the object are the columns. So conceptually, you can bring it back, even though it's it's more of a document store. You can bring it back into that relational model and query it. So what you can do now is pause this video lecture and watch the demo on GeoDashboards. You can do a little quick talk about platforms, plant some seeds for the next module. So platforms, they exist. And what I mean, dashboard platforms, I guess. They exist. My big three, ArcGIS Online, besides all the other stuff it can do, it has two distinct areas for dashboards. There is the dashboard technology called that. It's on its third generation. So there was operational dashboards, which were window-based only. Then they moved to the web, and they're on their second version or second generation of the web in that, where they've more mobile, more arcade things happening in that. There's also Experience Builder. Experience Builder has some dashboards aspects to it with actions and filters, very much of what you see in the third generation dashboards. Tableau, it's desktop tool. It's a if you're not in the GS shop and you're just crunching on the attribute data, I mean, someone knows Tableau and that, but it does have a dashboard aspect where you can bring all your visualizations together and that. And, you know, little things like selectors and that, and like a suite of radio buttons that if you change it, you know, it's like filtering the data and that. So they have a whole dashboard aspect. They also have a online version of Tableau, which is, you know, basically feature parity to their desktop tool. A very interesting product called Superset. I believe it came out of Uber at first. It's now an Apache project, but the concept is, you know, you have this platform that you come into, and within the user account you log in, and it's a place where you can design your dashboards. It has all these providers for hooking into databases like Postgres, Microsoft SQL Server, and that to get your data feeds going. But then you start building your charts, and hey, I want a pie chart here. Hey, I want an indicator here, and that, and I want a gauge over here. And it's kind of like has a built-in integrated development environment for building your dashboards. There has to be others, right? There's only so many things a human can cover. I'm just highly aware of these three amongst all the other technologies that I, you know, dip my toes and fingers into. Right? Again, more on platform as a service next week. So if you have any questions, need to re-examine a topic, or need clarification on a term or concept, you can get an answer by posting a note on the discussion boards for this course. That's all for now.